There are a lot of unique and complex characters in the game of Blood on the Clocktower, and the goal of this video series is to help you get a bit more comfortable with some of the things that can happen in a game and help you develop your skills as a storyteller so that you can handle anything your players throw at you. Alright, what's up YouTube? It's Keith from Cutlass Games once again. I'm going to be back doing some more Blood on the Clocktower content this time around. I have done some stuff in the past on this YouTube channel where it's not gameplay. The point is to help you become a better storyteller and get some of the experience that I've had as being a storyteller for quite some time in helping with the playtesting and running one of the major Sydney events that we had for some time to you, the person at home, trying to run and play games, because Clocktower is actually really hard to run balanced games. It has a lot of complexity. You have to make a lot of assumptions of what players are going to be doing so that you can provide a balanced game, because unbalanced games can be really unfun. So what we're going to be doing is setting up some rack ups. I'm going to be building simulated games and add some assumptions to what the players are going to be like, and then we'll have some discussion about what those games should look like, what choices you should make as a storyteller. So we're going to be starting off with Trouble Brewing. I do just have a whole bunch of the characters laying out here. But in setting up a game, you will always have the imp in a Trouble Brewing game. So that's the easiest place to start. We have an imp. We then get to choose one of 4 minions, and then we get to choose one of 4, maybe depending on player count, outsiders. Obviously in the first thing here with the outsiders, it's going to be really obvious to the players what outsiders you're picking after a few games, because there's a certain meta where it comes to setting up a game with the Trouble Brewing outsiders. For example, the butler is very, very rarely played, and if no one's claiming Recluse or Saint, then everyone just kind of assumes there's a drunk somewhere, and because the drunk is really hidden, it can just maybe show up anywhere, or the evil team can be pushing a narrative that there is a drunk, and with the Baron obscuring the outsider count, an evil player can claim to be an outsider in a game where there shouldn't be any, and make people think there is a drunk in play. So the drunk is the most considered to be used one, and the butler is the least considered to be used one, and the other two are about even. I would say I've seen the Recluse more than the Saint, because the Saint is really good for beginners and the Recluse is more intermediate. We'll get into that later. But the first choices we're going to make here is which combination of these we're going to put into play, and we've talked a bit about the outsiders, talk a bit about the minions, because they have a similar kind of a thing. The Baron, which is dead easy to play, because you don't have to do anything, you've already done everything, you just have to socially be evil, look evil, draw heat, whereas the Spy is the opposite, where the Spy knows everything and the Spy has to do everything, because the less the Spy communicates, the less impactful they are. So you would expect a more expert player to be able to do this. So we're going to start off with a really easy to discuss rack up where we're picking the Spy, because the Spy isn't seen in a lot of Trouble Brewing games, but we're going to assume that in this particular rack up, we're going to have a mix of advanced players and new players. We're going to make it a 8-player game, so we're going to have one outsider, and it's going to be the butler, because the main commentary about this rack up is going to be about the Spy rather than the outsiders. And so we're going to pick some people, and then we're going to do where everyone is going to be sitting, so you'll be able to know what's going on. But this is tentatively what we've got, right? We've got the imp at one end. Butler, I've picked out the empath, so we want to have, we've got 5 things. We've got 5 things left to put into the game, including the empath, which is one of them. We want to have a certain number of interactive pieces and a certain number of protective things and a certain number of information things. Usually 1 to 2 first night info characters is a good start. In this setup in particular, because we have the Spy, the investigator, identifying the Spy is really rough, unless if they can pull off a Recluse bluff. And the Recluse bluff would work way better if this was a drunk game and not a butler game. unless if no one believes that there's a butler, because no one ever puts the butler into a game. So you have to be thinking about what kind of choices these players are going to think you have made, because a lot of it is a storyteller read when it comes to what's in the game and what's been happening. For this one, we're not going to pick investigator. We're going to go chef, washwoman. And because I know I'm putting the chef, I'm going to change where things are. But for this one, because the spy could register as good, the chef could get 1 or 0. So I get to pick what I think is most impactful. We've got our 2 first night info people. We've got an empath, which means we need 2 more. I think the Ravenkeeper would actually go really hard here, and the Mayor. Ravenkeeper is a really tough character to include. I probably would be really upset if my Ravenkeeper was poisoned on the day that they died. And so putting them into a game where it's the spy instead of the Ravenkeeper, I think is going to be much more impactful. This is our characters. I'm going to... let's just say it's exactly like this, right? This is our setup. This is what we're looking at. We've got the imp, spy, butler, empath next to each other, chef. So the empath has 2 good neighbors. We then have the washerwoman, the Ravenkeeper, and the Mayor. So who can the washerwoman see here, right? Let's go through the entire list. The washerwoman can't see the butler or the demon. The washerwoman can see the spy. This could be pretty rough. The washerwoman can see the empath, which I think would be too powerful, because if the washerwoman sees the empath cannot be the drunk, and if the empath goes 0, I know I am not the drunk. If we confirm there's no poisoner in play, then my information is correct. I trust both of these people, and then that can snowball the game towards a good favor. Now, if both the demon and the spy were advanced players, this would be a more logical choice to take, because you want the good team to not just get bamboozled because the evil team's characters are strong. Strong characters in the hands of strong players will make for a more evil levied game. In this particular setup, I'm going to assume that we have a new demon and an experienced spy. We're expecting all of the heavy lifting to be done by the minion. And we have the butler, who is sitting next to the spy, and if they are unlucky enough to, fall victim to the eyed whispers of the spy and telling them things, or like a really successful bluff, and the butler trusts them, then that is going to be really tough for the good team. However, the empath, if confirmed, would be more likely to sway the butler to believe that they are the empath. The washerwoman could also select the chef. I think this is a fine option. I think you cannot show Mayor. I think you cannot show Ravenkeeper. Washerwoman that shows the Mayor ever makes a Mayor victory very, very likely. And because the evil team doesn't have something like a poisoner to counteract that, it's going to be very difficult for them to actually ever stop the Mayor from activating. And showing up Ravenkeeper, I think, is okay. I think if the person holding the Ravenkeeper is a newer player, using the washerwoman to connect them with someone that they trust would be pretty good. Because also the washerwoman is able to set up their bluff as being something powerful. Like, I'm the washerwoman, I saw the Ravenkeeper. I saw Jeremy as the Undertaker, and we're working together to make Undertaker information. I obviously 100% believe Jeremy. I think he's going to be great. And the demon then kills Jeremy because they believe he is actually a powerful info character instead of the Ravenkeeper. So that's something to be mindful of. I think only doing that if it's a newer Ravenkeeper, because a more advanced Ravenkeeper is going to be pretty good at holding their own bluff and claiming to be something that would probably get killed. But in this situation, I think the best choice is the chef. So we're going to make the washwoman see the chef. And then the next bit is the chef info. Now, because of the setup that we've got it in, we know that the imp and the spy are next to each other. But the chef has the option of seeing either 1 or 0 because of the spy's ability to register as good. Now, if we have a look at this mathematically, we have 8 players. This many, right? We have 8 players, and the empath, if trusted, vouches for 3 of them, which includes the chef, right? So it means they can trust the chef information on whatever it is. If you are then able to split the rest of the room in half, the chef will tell you, like if you have a pair and you eliminate the mayor from being evil, that leaves only 4 players that could be evil. Whereas if you show not a pair, then it would be 1 person on either side. And that would be if the washerwoman saw the mayor, for example. It's having something that, you know, makes the players trust the mayor. Let's say either of these 4 players dies. It could be the imp passing the spy, imp killing the spy, because the spy's really learned everything, imp killing the raven keeper, and the raven keeper confirming the mayor. You are suddenly very quickly running out of people that can't be the demon with the chef information, because such a big block of players has been cleared. So I think the best choice here is to show no pairs, which might be more likely to show the empath as suspect, and less likely to get the demon killed. Because the chef information is so able to predict what's happening mathematically, you need to look at where everyone really is, and when you have some freedom in a rack up like this to choose either option, it can be pretty impactful with what you pick, because that might tell them that it's a spy, it might tell them that it's not a spy, it might not tell them anything. But it is difficult to see what the information is going to be in the end. Now, one of the other things that I like to think about in a rack up like this, you have 2 info characters. You've got starting info characters and 1 each night info character. If the empath is killed here as the only each night info character, does the good team just lose the game? I think no, because they get a lot of info at the start and they could potentially confirm the people around them. If this was a fortune teller and they picked bad, or they picked people that later got verified by something else on the first night and then died, it could be way more detrimental. If the only info character was the Undertaker, you just might not get anything. It's not proactive, it's reactive, right? So you need to be able to have some kind of method that will either clear alive good players or find alive evil players. And I think this rack up is okay. I think if anything, it's more even if you assume that everyone had an even skill level. If both the demon and the spy were advanced players, I would say that it would lean more heavily to the evil team, because the spy would be able to set up ironclad buffs for both of them. And it would be really difficult to crack that, unless if the mayor is activated. I think if both those players were advanced and I really knew that they were going to be able to run the game, then the washerwoman confirming the mayor would be the way to go, because the spy will see that and go, oh no, here's our biggest threat. The town is going to know and trust the mayor. How do we find a way to discredit this person without the ability to poison someone or something like that? Like they could have a librarian bluff and say, hi, I'm the librarian. I saw the mayor or the washerwoman as the drunk, which could mean I'm the drunk, or could mean, you know, one of these 2 things. And the butler goes, hello, I'm the butler, which means we have a baron in play. And then people are not believing that there is a spy. So there is, there is ways to play around it, but being mindful of the, power level of the different players in your game should inform how you set up a rack up. This has been another storyteller utility video from Cutlass of Board Games. If you did like this, please let us know in the comments, or post some rack ups for us to have a look at, or any questions that you have so we can go over it and make sure that you're going to be the best storyteller you can be.